However, though, to be clear, I don't go into a deal and get it under contract because there's a lot of shady wholesalers, just like there's shady agents out there.
Right.
I don't go into a contract not knowing if I'm going to close it. Okay. And then that's not your goal. My goal, your and I goal is to help people.
Exactly.
Our goal is to help people.
Yeah.
All right. So Andrew, thanks so much for taking some time to hop on. Simply put, I just wanted to have Andrew hop on. We're going to be doing some just Q&A, just fun Q&A. I met Andrew 10, 12 years ago. He actually grew up in our hometown, Lee Summit, Missouri. And he's out in Miami right now. He just got his real estate license and he's just one to ask any questions. So dude, shoot away.
Yeah. So just a quick background. So I have my license in Missouri, Colorado, and now Florida.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So I got licensed in Colorado first, didn't do any real estate because I got licensed, moved here to Florida last year. Everything happened. So when I was in Kansas City, I got my license in Missouri. So technically I only have one actual transaction under my belt. Sold my brother's house, got my hand held through the whole process. It was very nice. And then I started selling insurance. So I didn't have time to do real estate, selling Medicare insurance. And then fast forward, I moved back to Boulder in January. And there I was a transaction coordinator for Liv Sotheby's International Realty, which in hindsight was the best thing I could have could have done for myself because you learn the back end of real estate.
Yeah, you learn contracts. You learn contracts. I mean, like,
most important thing.
So yes, literally the most important thing.
Yeah.
One of the most important things. Yes. 100%.
Yeah. So that all happened from March until I moved here in July 1st or on July 1st. So got here within 2 weeks, I got licensed. It was great. So yes, I've had my license for almost 2 years now, a year and a half. But with that said, I'm so new to real estate still. Which is great. It really is. I've learned a lot through my previous jobs in the real estate industry, but it's a whole different story than actually being out there and trying to execute assets, trying to help clients. You know how it goes.
Yeah, so, for sure.
My ultimate goal, I love the residential side of things, but obviously my ultimate goal is investing and creating freedom is really what it is. And freedom from you always hear the term that a salary is the death of dreams.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. And I live by that. So I've interviewed with wholesale businesses before to be transaction coordinators. They're telling me about how they're making 6-figure, 7-figure incomes, and they're offering me this little pity salary. So in my mind is, I can do this. Why am I not reaching out to people? I have resources. Prime example, you. I have these resources all around me to be successful in what I want to do. So here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So there's a lot to unpack there. So what is your goal? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to be, first of all, I always like to recommend people, first of all, it's always helpful to have your license. I think I commend you, and dude, in your multiple states, like that's huge. Like regardless of how much you use your license, it's awesome that you have your license in Colorado, Florida, Kansas, and Missouri. And that will definitely help you once you're able to scale. Right. And it's just going to be other revenue streams for you. So that's a blessing, regardless of how many deals you've done. It doesn't matter. You did work. It takes a lot of time, effort, energy, focus, and tests to do that. So I commend you for taking that first step. Pat yourself on the back. That's still something to be proud of. And then man. So obviously you want to invest. There are people that make hand over fist in wholesale. I got started by being a lowly property manager, and I had a salary, but I said this, listen, I respect people that have salaries if they're taking the next step towards their dream. Right. Or if they're on a side hustle on their dream. And I will speak to however you want to have unlimited money-making potential. That's the end of that's what you want. That's what everyone wants. Right. However, what's important part to investing is getting approved for loans.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Having a salary is huge to helping you get investment loans. Now, there's creative financing, which we can talk about, which we probably will, that I didn't ever need to get approved for a loan here in Kansas City with more cash flow Midwest real estate. But just something to just throw that out there. You don't have to, first of all, you don't have to get a loan to get real estate, but it helps if you have W-2 income to do that. But yeah, dude, I commend you for getting your real estate license and going for it. And you're right. Yeah, you can make more money wholesaling, but there are startup costs. I won't say it takes money if you want to scale and do 100K, 250K months. But you can definitely make a couple hundred grand a year with maybe $1,000, $2,000 a month in expenses. Seriously.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
What are your goals, Andrew?
Ultimately, I always say that everyone has passions. And I think the most important thing is to take all of your passions and trying to create them into one. So ultimately with my investments, well, first, let me backtrack. I really want to get into wholesaling first. Reason being, I think that's just the biggest step for me is to build the confidence first, to take those first steps into bigger investments. And how does that happen? I feel like it happens with wholesaling first. You can wholesale. Not only will that help you gain confidence to do bigger deals, but it's also going to give you some cash to put in your pocket, pretty quick cash if you do it the right way. So ultimately, I would love to learn about wholesaling first. So I'll have obviously questions about that. Second, I've always liked fixing and flipping. That idea, you grow up watching HGTV, you see all these great TV shows. I watched them growing up through high school. So those were always intriguing to me. But ultimately, I want to create passive income. And I think that's the most important thing for me. Now, with that, when I mentioned dreams and passions, I would personally love to create housing I went to college to be a special education teacher. I would love to create housing for groups, organizations, corporations that help people with special needs transition from schools, college, the after school that they go through into living on their own. So ultimately, I would love to do that. I also love helping homeless people. So you get into helping people. I know that don't you do kind of like Section 8 housing?
Yeah. I work with a handful of organizations in the city, some Section 8, which is for people watching, it's a government subsidy that pays a good portion of the rent for people that are low income.
Right.
And then I work with other organizations that aren't Section 8 that are maybe like, people that are coming off the street that need, short-term housing, or like single mothers with a kid that, someone's not paying child support. So that's a huge part of my mission, is to help people in those situations. Yeah. Exactly. And also make tons of money doing it so that I can use that money to help others all over again.
You're literally, that's my ultimate goal. We're on the same page. So ultimately you get into things because, at least for me personally, whatever I do, I want it to impact the world in a positive way.
For sure.
And obviously the income is, the back pocket that you get. Yeah. It's great.
Money is not the root of all evil.
No,
it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. Right.
Yes.
And, money in the hands of Hitler does one thing. Money in the hands of Mother Teresa does one thing.
Yes.
So it's not money that's the issue. It's the people and the character and the heart and the intention they have with their money. So, just to ask you more, bluntly, so what's holding you back? Like why haven't you taken your next step in wholesaling? Right. Like what is it?
I literally said I work with the guy as an assistant, which is nice for me because he's given me clients here in Miami already. I'm working with people. It's great.
That's awesome.
But I literally walked in the office today and I said, God, I wish I would gotten into real estate at 18 years old. Like, what was I thinking? And he said, trust me, you started earlier than me. You're good.
No, 100%. And that's true. Then I wanted to commend you at the beginning, dude. You have 4 licenses in 4 great states. So dude, you're there. I know that we could talk off a lot of different tangents, but the point is, it's like, Warren Buffett, for most people don't know, he's one of the most wealthy and successful investors in the world. He said, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, the best time was 30 years ago. The second best time is today.
Now. Yes.
Right now. Yeah. And what are you, 31, dude? You're 32, 31?
Now. Yeah. I just turned 32, July 30th.
Bro, you can, depending upon how you structure your life and your commitment level, you can, there's no reason why you can't be financially free in, 3 to 5 years. I mean that. Really.
The biggest thing for me, I think, for pulling the trigger is just the normal doubts. Everyone has those personal doubts of, well, what if it goes wrong? What if I mess up? And that's going to happen. And that's something that I realize, everyone realizes that, but it always holds you back. No matter who you are, you have to get over that first hump. Secondly, for me personally, the knowledge. And, I spent so much time getting licenses. Now I need to focus so much time on actually studying the work. I actually just watched my first wholesale YouTube tutorial video 2 weeks ago, and it was great. It was good for beginners. The website slipped my mind, but it's a wholesale website where you can, get a membership and they'll have wholesales all over. You probably have it, but
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. So I first watched that, and now obviously that lit a fire under me to get going. So bigger than that is financially. I am 32. I moved here. Let me backtrack. I moved 5 times in the last year.
I know you're always moving. I'm like, man, where's Andrew at these days? Yeah. For sure.
So moving's not cheap. So I have enough saved up for a great down payment, but at the same time, like you think of what if the flow doesn't happen and the house doesn't wholesale, that the flip doesn't sell, and then you're stuck with no money. So I think that's the big thing. I'm holding on to my funds that I have right now.
Yeah. So the perspective that takes time for people to develop, for other people that are listening, even, and for you, will be, you can't look at your resources and get excited or, doubtful about your own resources. You need to be able to look at and say, I am resourceful. I don't have money. Other people do. How can I partner with people who have money? I don't know how to wholesale. Can I partner with a local wholesaler and say, hey, if I find you a deal, do you know buyers? Like I know hundreds of thousands of buyers in Florida.
Do you really?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So I have access, for everyone that's watching, I have access to over 2 million buyers nationwide, hedge funds, REITs, family offices, huge volume buyers all across the country. So there's not a deal. Obviously there are certain deals I can't move in rural areas. However, major metropolitans, I can move them. Dude, I've been closing deals in Indiana. We closed a deal in Ohio. I've never seen the property, never been there, and we wholesaled it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just started doing that this year. I had no idea how to do it. It was just one of those things where it's you keep building upon your skill set and you keep stacking your skill set, right? So to go back to the whole thing, you were saying, facing doubts, facing those things that are hindering you. The main thing I would recommend is, if you are interested in specifically wholesaling, and I completely agree that it's a great way to generate cash. Yeah. I would honestly just begin to find people. First of all, I always tell people what you want to do. Yeah. Tell people hey, I'm looking for off-market deals. I'm looking for distressed houses. I'm looking for people that want to close cash. Yeah. Tell your realtor buddy, hey, I have an investor. His name's Brandton Shriner. I have an investor that can move any deal off market, needs work, TLC, at the right price, at a margin. Obviously, I can't just over market price. But point is, I can help step in those situations. And I even have buyers that'll pay more than other investors because they're hedge funds. They have deeper pockets. Yeah. So, there's so many ways. There's softwares I could tell you I recommend for you to use that you can text sellers directly. You can, pull lists. And now that there is a reoccurring cost with that. I mean, you could probably do it for maybe like $500 a month, depending upon how active you want to do it. A really cheap way, man, is to do what's called Drive for Dollars.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. I actually just learned about Drive for Dollars. Yeah. There's great apps out there. There's so much you can use.
Yeah. So, there's plenty of cheap ways you can find owners, and all you have to do is say, meet with these owners, build rapport, have a conversation with them and say, hey, listen, I work with investors, funding partners, and they want to help purchase this property, and we can close in 2 weeks, 21 days. Yeah. If you allow me to, do walkthroughs, you get pictures, all that kind of stuff, we can close quickly. Yeah. And I know that sounds like an oversimplified version, but when it comes to nuance, there's a couple softwares. Lead Sherpa is a good text messaging software. Batch Leads, great text messaging software. I can text you all this later too.
I'm right.
Yep. And so for anyone out there listening, direct to seller texting is huge, and I don't know how long it'll last. I think eventually, my hot take, which we'll clip this maybe in the future, I think it'll get a little bit more regulated, where it won't be as easy to text people directly, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another one is driving for dollars, which you can always do, which is essentially you just drive by the property. You can actually skip trace their phone number. And sometimes you might literally be able to click a button, find their phone number, and call them right there.
Really?
Hey, I was just driving down the street, and, I'm a local, investor, and I know investors, and, honestly, I just saw that your grass is a little bit long. I don't know if your property is vacant or if you just were interested in selling, but I'm actually buying houses around here. Would you be interested in a price? Or you just start. And the thing is, it's reps. Anything in life, dude. I know you run a lot. Like, dude, I used to run with you back in the day. You would crush me, So like, you run a lot. So like, you weren't running marathons and beating people like the first time you started. It was it was precept upon precept. It was skill upon skill, conversation upon conversation. Yeah. So, driving for dollars is a really good way for people to start. That's very cheap. And also, doing direct to seller text messaging, really good way. If you want to find sellers and start generating more conversations, it's a great way to do it. You have to be okay with rejection. You have to be okay with people maybe cursing you out. That doesn't matter. You're going after 10% of people. 90% of people are going to want to sell their house for fair market value or with a realtor. But your value proposition is pretty simple. You can save realtor fees. You can tell this to a seller, hey, you don't have to pay realtor fees. We can close in 14 days, 21 days. You don't have to fix a single thing, right? We will take your house as is. No one's, no legit inspectors, just your own personal third party walkthrough inspector, but not like a legit huge home inspection. Yeah. And it's a huge value proposition for someone like them. Hey, we can close. Don't have to worry about appraisals. And here's the thing. I tell sellers like, hey, listen, you might put your property on the MLS, and in this condition, someone's going to get it under contract. They're going to go through inspections, and then they're just going to keep hammering you down on price. Yeah. I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
Okay? Not only that, but the appraisal will come back.
Exactly. So I'm like, listen, everyone knows there's a number you give, you pay more, or there's more value and convenience, right?
Yes.
In certainty. Yeah. And so that's what I'm selling them. And ultimately, you want to find out what is their pain point, and you are their Advil, you are their ibuprofen, you are their surgeon.
Yes. Right?
Yeah. And so the main thing would be, man, is just listen, you got to get on the phone. You got to get on the phone. You got to start just driving around and just taking small actions. It can be a side hustle. It doesn't have to be a full on freaking high pressure business. Right. Just start setting time aside, a couple hours a day to drive for dollars and make some phone calls and send some texts. And dude, if you're like nervous to have that conversation and you feel like, oh, hey, I'll call Brandon. I can have someone from my team help with you on the phone, and like we can close the deal for you. You warm them up and you're like, hey, Brandon, I'm just like, and you can shadow me on the phone. Yeah. Like, hey, so-and-so seller. Hey, Sally, this is Brandon. He's really experienced in this field. He'll break down and explain everything, and we can lock up the deal together, man.
That would be amazing. There's already one section of Miami that I really want to hit. So Miami obviously has always been a hot spot. But now there's almost nowhere else to grow the city, except for this one little area called Liberty City. And a lot of people won't even drive through Liberty City, but it's right next to Wynwood. Wynwood Art District is newer. 6 years ago, Wynwood was considered ghetto. You would not want to drive through there. Mm-hmm. And now it's
blowing up.
It is the most up and coming area. And right next to this place is Liberty City. And guess what? Liberty City values of homes are so low. And to me, it's just a gold mine sitting. And that's where I'm going to start. Obviously, now that we were talking about drive for dollars, that's going to be my first place to go.
Dude, especially in those areas that most people won't touch, but some people will. In those up and coming areas where you can find like a pocket area where like you can make, dude, this year alone, I've done, me and my company, not just myself, but we've done over 3 deals over 50K.
Wow. Just in wholesale?
That's 3 separate deals over 50K.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. So I guess for my question for you is where do I start? What is the first thing that you did when you went to the wholesaling side of things?
Yeah. I mean, the main thing would be just like, I can send you an assignment contract and, you can go over it, and eventually in the future, and this would be a good thing for you and I, Jace, to share with people how to fill out an assignment contract.
Okay.
That's a big pain point, right? That's a pain point for you right now, right? It's like, okay, I have a seller. Someone wants to sell their house for a discount. How do I fill this thing out? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's something where you're already getting familiar with being a real estate agent. Now you get familiar with the wholesale contract side and the difference. So yeah, I mean, the main place I would start is, once again, we can walk through how do you fill out a wholesale contract. And I'll share that content later on. That's good. I can do that. Great. And then also I'd get on batch leads, start watching their instructional videos on what lists to pull, to text sellers directly. I can send you a link over for that. Okay. And then I would get a Drive for Dollars app. I think that actually batch leads has batch driven as well. So you can actually do it all in the same thing. Right. So that's where I would start. Like if I had $3,000 to my name and they dropped me off somewhere in the country, which maybe I will do that someday, just to see how long it would take me to get a deal. I would, that's what I would do. And you have access to MLS. So of course. You can pull comps. You can pull your own comps, right? Another awesome software is PropStream. It gives you nationwide data for skip tracing as well to pull contact information. So that's where I'd start, man. Really seriously, that's where I'd start. Understand how to do an assignment contract. And, once you have a deal locked up, I can help you move it. And if you didn't have the ability to move it, I would go on Facebook groups. Okay. And blast it out to as many Facebook groups in Florida as possible. Hey, I got this deal locked up at this price. We need to close in 3 weeks. Anyone interested in this deal? And just market. Yep. Yeah. So, that's exactly what I would do, man. And just rinse, wash, repeat. Eventually you start scaling. Okay, I'll get a virtual assistant. She'll be doing the texting. Yeah. Right. Then you get a guy like yourself that's just hungry to learn about real estate here in like 3 months, and hey, get on this app, Drive for Dollars around this area. Or I would recruit. This is kind of my own personal strategy I haven't done yet, but I always have these creative ideas. Dude, get DoorDash people, get Uber drivers to do Drive for Dollars for you. Seriously, they're just driving around. Isn't that crazy? Like I clip. No, literally. So that's what I want. I want people to think outside the box, but like I started to recruit UPS drivers. I started to recruit mailmen. If they see any like overgrown grass, or like they keep getting like mail can't make it, or it's overstuffed. Just talk to them, So that's how I would start. If I had hardly any money, because everyone has $1,000. You know why they have it? Because if they don't have it, honestly, you can go out there and get it. You can DoorDash, you can do those things where you can you can Uber, get a car, like work a job so that you can build a side hustle that builds financial freedom. Right. Yeah. And you're in the right direction, man. Seriously. I would just say the number one thing, and you need to just embrace, is taking action. There's no way around it. There's no way around the fear, but courage is feeling fear and moving forward. Right. And the worst thing can happen is nothing. So let me explain wholesale. If you get a property under contract and you can't perform, there's no ramifications. It's not like a typical, I wouldn't say there's no, I won't say there's no ramifications. However, there are a lot less ramifications because it's a short-term agreement, right? It's like, hey, I want to purchase your house for this amount of time. The only thing that if the ramification would be if you can't perform, and you have earnest money, you lose your earnest money. Okay. That's literally one of the reasons why I haven't taken action yet, is that's one of the doubts. And to be clear, 90% of the time on my deals, the sellers never ask for, earnest money. Okay. Yeah. So I have no risk. Literally, you can't sell it, the deal, the contract, the agreement. Yeah, I just say, hey, listen, I'm going to send you over a cancellation of mutual release. So sorry, I couldn't perform on this one. However, though, to be clear, I don't go into a deal and get it under contract because there's a lot of shady wholesalers, just like there's shady agents out there.
Right.
I don't go into a contract not knowing if I'm going to close it.
Okay.
Okay. Because I have high integrity. I have high expectations to make sure that I'm actually helping that seller.
Yeah.
Okay? I've seen people that have no idea what they're doing in the wholesale space, and they will just say, oh, this person wants to sell for this price. They get in their contract and it's way too much. And then the seller thinks they're going to close. And then that's not your goal. My goal, your and I goal is to help people.
Exactly.
Our goal is to help people. Yeah. We're not helping people if we can't perform.
Yeah.
Right. However, giving them false hope. That's no one wants to do that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, our goals are aligned, so now you have that pain point where, oh, what happens if I can't move it?
It's over.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't worry about that. That's not a worry.
That's literally one of my biggest pain points.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, man. So, it's one of those things where the main thing is you just want to do your numbers, do your homework to make sure there's enough room, enough ARV, enough spread. Right. Yeah. And there's some numbers and percentages I can send over to you where if you get a property under contract at a certain ARV with a certain amount of repairs, you will know if a flipper wants to buy that house.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You will know. It's not going to be a question if, it's going to be a question of how much are they going to buy it for and how much are you going to make?
Exactly. Right? Yeah. I was going to say, that's probably my next biggest thing is learning how to calculate the ARV. You see a house that I can get under contract for $50,000. I put $15,000 into it. Now it's worth $130K. I just need to, one, find contractors that I can work with. That's going to be action, obviously. And two, just breaking down the math. And obviously you learn about these things in real estate class, but you don't actually learn about it.
Yeah, no, you learn concepts. You learn.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's funny. It's like everyone has a plan. I mean, Mike Tyson, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? It's like everyone thinks they know. Everyone thinks like, I watched bull riding my entire life. Oh, I can hop on a bull. It's like, well, it's a lot different when you're on the bull. But
so do you recommend driving around, for instance, driving for dollars? Do you recommend driving around? Say you find this property, you get a little bit of interest from this person, like, yeah, actually, I am thinking about selling it. Do you then reach out to your investors at that moment? Or do you wait until you've done the numbers, you've got the agreement, and then you reach out to them? Or is it something that you want to reach out and kind of test the waters? Like, will this actually sell? Obviously, if the numbers are there, like you just said, there's no questions. But I guess for me, that's a question that I have being new to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I would. So if you have a seller so they're interested in selling, I would just, first of all, you want to go, then you say, oh, hey, that's awesome. Well, can I schedule a walkthrough? And typically they're not going to be like, okay, come over in 5 minutes. You'll have time to hours or days to do your due diligence.
Yeah. So
you can say, okay, well, I know what the ARV is in perfect condition, flip condition, HGTV condition. Now go there, take pictures. Video walkthrough is great too for other investors. That's a huge thing. Helps sell a lot more deals if you get a video walkthrough. Okay. Which I need to do more often. So I need to practice what I preach. To get tons of pictures and just have a casual conversation. Hey, yeah. And I always like to say, hey, so did you grow up around here? What made you move here? And then just get them talking, build rapport, build that connection. It's essentially to answer your question, someone says, hey, I'm interested in selling. Okay, cool. Did you have a price in mind, a range of what you were looking for? If I can not allow you to pay any realtor fees, you don't have to do any repairs. Yeah. We can schedule your closing in 14, 21 days and we can pay cash. Yeah. Do you have a range in mind with all those benefits? Not a range in mind for what they want.
Exactly. Major difference. Yeah.
So you find a seller, they're interested and say, okay, well, yeah. So essentially here's what we do. And you break down everything I just said. You're a local home buyer investor. You have funding partners. That's the language I use. I've heard other people explain that and say, for my deals to get approved, I have to have my funding partners walk the property. Okay. Because that's the next step, right? Yeah. Let's say they agree to a price. Then you have to schedule a walkthrough with your investors or your contractors or their realtor or whoever the decision maker is. Yeah. and say, oh, okay, yeah, no worries. Like they understand, most people understand in real estate, they're going to have some kind of walkthrough or inspection, or most people are they're, trained to know, okay, we're going to have an inspector, have an appraiser, have showings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I guess my next question is, because 14 to 21 days is very quick for the average person. It's like, oh shit, I need to move in 14 to 21 days. Can I do that? So do you kind of give that, I guess, hope that, hey, you know what, if we close in 14 to 21 days, you have a month to get out of here. You don't have to move out right away. Or is that something that you say, hey, you got to be out of here in 21 days?
Great question.
Investors ready to go right away.
Yep. Absolutely. Great question. This is something that takes nuance to navigate. This is going to depend on who your buyer is.
Okay.
Because some buyers want the property vacant.
Yeah.
Okay. So the solution there is doing a lease back.
Okay. Making them pay kind of rent.
Yep. And even more important, you hold money back at closing from the title company, from the seller. Okay. To make sure that like 5 or 10 or 20 grand to make sure they move when they're supposed to.
Okay.
Because go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just like, it's very important you do something to large amounts. So if you do a lease back, specifically with the owner, with the tenant, it's different, right? But with the owner, when you do a lease back with the owner, and a lot of times owners don't really want to lease back their home. It's just like a weird thing for them to conceptually understand. So either way, like if they decide they want to do that, or they need, like you said, maybe they need the cash to go buy another house.
Right.
And they need 30 to 60 days. Well, first thing you want to make sure you explain that to your investor buyer. Hey, this is not going to be a 14, 21 day close where you can just rush your contractors and your interior design team in there. We're going to have to close, and it's going to take 2 weeks for this person to get out. And we're going to do a lease back. We're going to hold money back from them to make sure they do. And I'm going to make sure I help with that.
Okay. Now with that said, do you also hold the title in that process that whole time? Because my thought process is through like seller financing. You can do seller financing and say, hey, we'll hold or you can still have the title in your name through seller financing. Through the wholesaling process, do you take that title right away?
Yeah. So just wholesale. But no. So the owner, the title work is transferred over to the end buyer
right away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So So essentially just the title work would just be handed over to the end buyer in their LLC. So it's not, So when you open up escrow, you are, with the seller, originally the title company probably will open up in your LLC, but then right away you're going to have a contract with the end buyer, and title commitment will go over to them.
Then right away. Makes total sense. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Now my next questions, we're almost up with time. But my next big thing is getting seller financing. And I think this is, maybe I'm not the only person out there that has this issue, but I've done so many different jobs. I've been a yoga teacher. I didn't work for a while. I lived like a dream life in Colorado for a long time.
Yeah, dude, awesome.
Yeah. I sold insurance. So as far as me getting loans, it's going to be kind of difficult until I have that 2 solid years of income. I do have 2 years of income, so I don't think I can totally not get a loan given to me. But with that said, I think a route for me is going to be going through seller financing. And that's going to be a whole, probably 2 conversations with you of how in the world do you get started with seller financing? What's the conversation to have? What's the script that you need to say to somebody to say, hey, yeah, I'll do seller financing with you? There's
like 100 directions I could go with this, which is just so funny because like I have so many thoughts firing off in my head.
Yeah.
There's myths. So I want to bust right real quick. I want to bust some myths. First of all, you don't need good income to get a cash out loan. So for example, you can use private money or hard money to purchase a house. And then you can do a cash out loan with none of your own income.
Okay.
For 70% cash out, which is not what I recommend because it's hard to make sure you get all your money out of the deal. Yeah. But however, there are deals and there are lenders. There's people out there that have the purchase money and the refinance money and has nothing to do with your tax returns. Myth busted. Boom. So those people exist. People are like, oh, I can't get an investment loan because like your thought, like the normal every person thinks that. That's not 100% true. There are cases where lenders will look at the asset itself and lend against the asset itself, not you as the borrower. They'll say, oh, it'll cash flow like this. I'm lending based upon the cash flow of the asset.
Okay.
They're betting on the asset. You
have to bring the numbers to the table to prove that, hey, this is a great asset to invest in.
To clarify, it's difficult to do because they want 30% equity in the deal. They want to have a good margin. Most times I'm getting a cash out loan at 75 to 80%, but they're underwriting me, my experience.
Yeah.
So but that's okay. But it is a myth. You can get cash out lending and you do not have to have W-2 income. They will lend on the asset. Okay. Boom. That's first things first. True. That's the true thing. Second thing is owner financing. Hey, so, if seller, you're talking with seller. So yeah, you're wanting, 140,000, you're just sitting on this property right now, or you're looking to sell. If I can give you around the price you want, would you be willing to let me make payments on it or give me the terms I need?
Okay. Yeah. And I think that's what I'm going to go for first, to be honest, is owner financing. The teacher that I just went through to get my license for my pre-licensing course, that's what he does. He's closing an $11 million deal for a parking garage here in Miami through owner finance.
That's so amazing.
It's his dream. He says that on his weeks off, he literally is just driving around going for owner financing with every deal that he does. And it works. It works for him. So I just know it's plausible for me. And I think that'll be a great first step for me personally, and see how it goes from there.
Yeah. Main thing is, I would get a couple wholesale deals done before you start doing owner finance.
Right, of course. That's
owner finance. Yeah, exactly. Owner finance isn't complicated. It's just a little nuanced with deed of trust and ownership and like things like that. It's definitely still doable. It's not that complicated, but there is a little bit of tactfulness to it. But I would get probably 5 wholesale deals on your belt so you can have some cash, because once you own properties, things will come up.
Of course.
You need some cash reserves. So like furnace goes out, AC goes out, all that kind of stuff.
Very true.
But yeah, immediate action. Now you can get a property under contract and your intention obviously is to move it, but there is no life-changing, altering thing if you can't move it. But the main thing is generate as many conversations with sellers as possible. Talk to people all the time, let them know what you're looking for. And out of that place, deal flow will come to you.
Great. Awesome, man. I'm going to get out for driving for dollars this weekend. And
yeah, dude.
Hopefully here within the first month, we'll be closing our first deal.
Dude, there's no reason why we shouldn't.
Yes.
There's no reason why we shouldn't. Well, dude, I know you got to roll. You got to leave. I know Jace is rolling out here too. For everyone that ends up watching this, thank you so much for hopefully, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully someone out there gained some, insight and information. We're helping people here close their first deal to their 50th deal. And thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you as well. Talk to you soon.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah.
Later, man.